Palantir is the same company which can target any Palestinian in Gaza and make kill targets out of them at will for the IDF. That operation is a test run for what is coming to America using the exact same tech. So whatever we do to people overseas, it's just a matter of time before we do it to ourselves at home. Derrick Broze is an author, journalist, documentary filmmaker, and activist from Houston, Texas. He's written 5 books, including the latest, How to Opt Out of the Technocratic State. His work focuses on practical steps individuals can take to reduce their dependence on technocracy, the importance of building parallel systems, and the role of community in achieving long-term independence. His journalism can be found on the consciousresistance.com, The Mind Unleashed, Minpret News, and The Last American Vagabond. Welcome to the show, Derrick Broze. Hey, Derrick.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Jimmy. I appreciate it.
So I wanted to bring you on because there's been some a lot of chatter about what's going on with Palantir, which we've covered Palantir in the past, which is a complete CIA cutout, but it's one of these tech information gathering organizations that put you in surveillance, right? So the Patriot Voice did a thread on this, and I'm just going to go through it. By the way, this is a huge admission for the Patriot Voice to be saying all this. Trump has tapped Palantir to create an entire database of all American citizens. It brings me no pleasure at all to inform you that Donald Trump is actively working with the very same deep state he claimed he would obliterate to create the largest surveillance database of Americans ever created. This plan is in lockstep with the UN Agenda 2030 goals and the WEF's Fourth Industrial Revolution. MAGA, if you are observing this from afar and holding on to any semblance of hope that Trump is who he said he was, sadly, it's time to wake up to the brutal realization. That's big for Patriot Voices. That's like Keith Olbermann admitting that Ellen is evil. That's a big deal. Trump is constructing the New World Order. That's what Trump is doing. You thought you all voted for the opposite of that. I thought you did too. Just as I unfortunately suspected, he has been over the past couple of months since his inauguration, and this news confirms that. First, you must understand who Palantir is and what they are doing. I'll give you an example. Palantir is the same company which can target any Palestinian in Gaza and make kill targets out of them at will for the IDF. That operation is a test run for what is coming to America using the exact same tech. So whatever we do to people overseas, it's just a matter of time before we do it to ourselves at home. Trump has allowed the technocracy industrial complex in Silicon Valley to completely take over his administration with Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, Alex Karp, David Sachs, and J.D. Vance at the helm. So no matter what they may tell you, their vision is not one of America First freedom, but of self-recognized authoritarianism and our subservience to the state. Steve Bannon came on this show and warned about this. It's called techno-feudalism. With the creation of the Golden Dome, many believe the lie that this will be to protect America from outside attack. Seriously, when was the last time a missile was launched at America? But the reality is that this dome is actually a true-to-form version of Skynet. If you have seen the Terminator movies, you'll know what I'm talking about. Basically, it will be the world's largest surveillance dome. That's what Trump is building. It's not a missile defense system, because those don't work anyway, but it's a surveillance system, which those do work. It's run by AI, drones, biometrics, and Starlink satellites tracking your every move. So it's like China, but it's here in the United States. And so just to let you know, so Palantir is like the Stasi, the KGB, and the SS all put under one digital Skynet roof. It's like the Target store of targeting any opposition. That's what it's like. I have been warning of this for a while, despite many of who have attacked me. But the reality of this situation is that the Trump administration is working at warp speed to turn America into the same surveillance superstate nightmare that is China. The writing is on the wall, with the Palantir being officially tapped to not only make a database for the IRS, which we were totally lied to about being dismantled, but our own massive digital prison is being constructed right in front of our eyes. The data will be weaponized against us in the coming social credit beast system. So it's coming. Don't sit there and tell me that it's still better than Kamala because she was never going to win anyhow. Trump was selected for this time to fulfill this plan, and there is no Democrat that could have pulled this off without much resistance. But Trump is the perfect guy to pull this off because he quiets a lot of the natural opposition to this, right? Just like when Barack Obama was president, it quieted all those people who were normally speaking out against his warmongering and his giveaways to the banks. Those people shut up because they didn't want to criticize Barack Obama. Donald Trump is the same thing. So the people who would normally stand up to this kind of digital currency, this kind of surveillance state apparatus, they're now being quieted because of their support for Donald Trump. It's time to face facts. Both parties are just as bad as Republicans see the Democrats. It's just different faces, disguises, and personalities, which are put in place by the same masters to fool us into thinking we have choice. Well, we don't. You have owners. They own you. George Carlin, that's exactly right. So let me bring in our guest. Tell me about how Palantir is expanding their surveillance. If you think the government will only use these tools to track illegal immigrants, think again. So tell me, how did this come about with Palantir? And they were not a company, and then the CIA took billions of dollars and gave it to Alex Karp and said, start a company. Isn't that basically what happened?
Yeah, Jimmy, that's very true. The beginnings of Palantir relating to CIA venture capital funding from NQTel, which many of the big tech firms have received in the post 9/11 world, and absolutely the creation of Palantir really comes from the alleged end of the controversial U.S. government surveillance program known as Total Information Awareness. And I want to say, just as an aside, I'm so glad that a platform as big as yours and Patriot Voice, I don't really follow him, but others are ready to have this conversation about Palantir and Peter Thiel, because my colleagues Whitney Webb, Ryan Christian at The Last American Vagabond, James Corbett, who you've talked to, and a few others I could name, have been really trying to sound the alarm bells about this since before the election, and telling people this was probably where things were going, because we could see the ties with Palantir and Peter Thiel and JD Vance, et cetera. And as you said, they come straight from the intelligence background, come straight from CIA. And then not only that, just last year, we saw that Palantir, along with Musk's companies and OpenAI, Anduril, and others, they actually formed a new pact where they're essentially trying to make themselves be the new, fresh, hip, young military industrial complex contractors. Like, they're seeking to replace Boeing, Northrop Grumman, and others, Raytheon, and kind of make themselves the next generation of that. So for me, this shouldn't be too surprising. I get that a lot of people did put hope and faith and Trump would be better than the other side, but I also think your analysis and what you and Kurt were saying at the end of the last segment is 100% true. And what Patriot Voice was saying there is no political solution. Both of these parties are owned and managed by these people. And I also think it's important for people to understand this isn't just a private surveillance firm, which is problematic on its own, but both Alex Karp and Peter Thiel are steering committee members of the Bilderberg Group, which is getting ready to meet next week in Switzerland. And for those who don't know or haven't heard of the Bilderberg Group over the years, they have been one of the most secretive kind of roundtable groups representing the true hidden ruling class. I wouldn't say they are the ruling class, but this is a private, secretive meeting of heads of state, big executives, media people, bankers, finance, et cetera, that's been meeting since the 1950s. And they meet every May or June, largely in secret. It's only the last decade or so that they've put up a website, and occasionally The Guardian, Charlie Skelton will report on it. But for the most part, the mainstream still ignores it. So you have this secretive group with Peter Thiel and Alex Karp, who have been attendees for a long time, but have become steering committee members, along with people like Eric Schmidt, who's the former CEO of Google, and other folks, other deep state actors who are the steering committee member of that group. They've found all these companies, including Palantir, through Peter Thiel's foundations, the Thiel Fellowship, and so many other organizations. He's influencing, he's got his tentacles everywhere. And I've written some articles over at The Last American Vagabond showing how many Peter Thiel acolytes are a part of Doge and have been a part of the Trump administration starting right away in January. And it's at least, I would say, 15 to 20 or more people in very important positions that have a connection to Palantir directly or to Peter Thiel and Alex Karp, one of their many different affiliated organizations.
Well, let's go over what's actually happening right now. So this is an article from Reason just the other day, and it says, when people complain about big tech, they tend to mean companies like Meta, Google, and Twitter, entities providing free tools and platforms that we can choose whether to use. Much less attention is directed at the tech companies helping to the federal government consolidate and analyze data on all of us. Companies like the data analytics firm Palantir, created by PayPal co-founder and Donald Trump supporter Peter Thiel. Palantir has a lot of people have taken cheap shots at me, saying that somehow I work for Peter Thiel and that I don't criticize him when I've done so repeatedly. But I just want to throw that out. Palantir has long been connected to government surveillance. It was founded in part with CIA money. It has served as an immigration and customs enforcement contractor since 2011, and it's been used for everything from local law enforcement to COVID-19 efforts. But the prominence of Palantir tools in federal agencies seem to be growing under President Trump. The company has received more than $113 million in federal government spending since Trump took office, including additional funds from existing contracts as well as new contracts with the Department of Homeland Security and the Pentagon. That's according to the New York Times. And this, by the way, that figure does not include the almost $1 billion, that contract that the Department of Defense awarded the company just last week, which, by the way, has not been spent. So Palantir's technology has largely been used by the military and the intelligence agencies, the immigration enforcers, and the police. But its use could be expanding, you think? Representatives of Palantir are also speaking to at least two other agencies, the Social Security Administration and the Internal Revenue Service, about buying its technology, according to 6 government officials and Palantir employees with knowledge of the discussion. Along with the Trump administration's efforts to share more data across federal agencies, this signals that Palantir's huge data analysis capabilities could wind up being wielded against all Americans. I think we could get rid of the could. This won't allow the authorities to watch us more so much as it helps them make use of all the data it's already got on us. But that's unsettling too. The ultimate concern is a panopticon of a single federal database with everything the government knows about every single person in the country. What we are seeing is likely the first step in creating that centralized dossier on everyone in the country. So if you're worried about digital currency and you're worried about if you protested, would they debank you and shut down like they did to the truckers and yes, that's what this is all about. Washington already has a ton of data on all of us, but it's often separated across systems and agencies. By linking it all together, the government could create much more detailed profiles on all of us. More efficient, probably, but also more dangerous. Right now, Trump administration is using Palantir tools for immigration enforcement. Those tools could easily be applied to other administration targets, including immigration protesters, pro-Palestinian protesters, and so on. Anybody who protested anything, a pipeline through your neighborhood, anything, they're going to use it against you and they'll call you a terrorist. And of course, a future Democratic administration could use them to track people for its own ends too. Once we've got giant data troves on every American that can easily be analyzed and shared across agencies, it seems unlikely that any administration will say, no thanks, shut it down, and we don't need total information on everybody. Perhaps when we worry about big tech, we should spend less time focused on what people can say on social media and more time focused on the companies actively helping to expand their surveillance state. So just to let you know, Palantir's database isn't like the others. It's going to combine tax filings, student debt, Social Security, bank accounts, medical claims, immigration status. No previous database system has ever centralized this much personal info across various federal agencies. And so this is the kind of stuff that you've been warning people about, correct? And what do you think this? Do you think people are going to wake up to this?
I don't know, Jimmy. Well, I want to say that tweet right there, which is my buddy Jason Bassett over at the Free Thought Project. Jason's 100% right. And the Reason article at the end is right, that this is new in the sense that it's breaking down walls of agencies that have, to some degree, had separation, or at least that's what we've been told. You know, the CIA is in their own world, FBI is in their own world, NCIA, et cetera. Trump's executive order, as the New York Times reported and as everybody's been picking up, was about so-called streamlining and making these processes more efficient. And really, this goes back to the post 9/11 world. This was right after 9/11. The sort of mainstream official story is that, well, because the different agencies weren't able to interact correctly, you know, we missed some vital information, and this allowed these alleged terrorist attacks to happen. I think many people out there now question that official narrative, but that same story is being used in 2025 to say, in order for us to more correctly track immigrants or violent gang members, et cetera, we need to have it set up so these systems are not siloed and separated. And for anybody who's been around for a little while, or anybody who's still out there paying attention, I want you to go check out a 2006 documentary called From Freedom to Fascism. Aaron Russo, who was a Hollywood director, he made this documentary before his death. And way back then, he was warning about the dangers of integrating these systems. And they kind of have this silly skit that they do where somebody calls in for pizza and the systems are all connected. And so the pizza person says, "Oh, we noticed, Mr. Smith, that you have your cholesterol's high. So if you get this extra large pizza with all the sausage and whatever, we're going to have to raise your insurance rates." And, just all these different ways that the interconnectivity can not only be problematic for surveillance and privacy and liberty, obviously, but in all these other unseen ways that people might not be thinking about. And I really hope people are ready to start questioning this, because you pointed out in the previous conversations about the different roles Palantir has been playing. I just wanted to make note of a couple others, because they talked about the IRS. They talked about being used for immigration purposes, obviously. I wrote an article recently called Welcome to the Palantir World Order. And as I said a moment ago, Elon's Doge, they both, of course, come from the PayPal mafia. They've had a long relationship. Doge is filled with Peter Thiel acolytes, Palantir acolytes. The U.S. government is also working on overhauling all their federal payment systems through a Peter Thiel connected company called Ramp. And then Peter Thiel and his companies are also now investing in nuclear energy, and through their connections with the Trump administration are trying to get the Department of Energy to start working on low enriched uranium, which is part of them trying to create new data centers, which is what's going to power all of this digital technocratic surveillance state they're building, because they need a lot of power to do it. So that's another thing they're getting involved with, nuclear energy, the IRS, as we mentioned. The other one is you guys were talking about the Golden Dome before. Of course, that is a Peter Thiel project through Palantir, but it's also partnered with Elon Musk's SpaceX that's helping do that Golden Dome. And I personally don't think anybody should be blindly trusting, or just trusting in general, Peter Thiel, Alex Karp, and I would include Elon Musk, despite anything he may be saying in the news lately, because when you look at what's really going on, Elon Musk is also a military-industrial contractor, and his program under SpaceX. People know about SpaceX, they know about Starlink, the sort of public side of the internet, but the military side is called Starshield, and we only learned about this in the last year. This is another $1.8 billion contract with the Geospatial Agency, which handles all the U.S. satellites. Every time Elon does a little rocket launch and everybody cheers it on, what they're also doing is they're working with the military and sending out classified payloads of satellites that are going all around the world. And sure, some of it's going to Starlink for public internet use, but I wrote an article a while back talking about how the head of the Geospatial Agency, he actually was quoted as saying, "You can't hide," that once they finish this Starshield program, all the bad guys, of course, it won't be used against good people and just regular folks like us, but all the bad guys will no longer be able to hide. So, I mean, really what I think is we're seeing this sort of unfolding of this PayPal mafia, which has been, not necessarily behind the scenes, but most people haven't been paying attention to them until the last couple of years, have been really working with intelligence agencies, directly with the CIA and other intelligence agencies, and now directly with the military, and of course now directly with the White House. This is unprecedented access. It doesn't mean that it just started with Trump, of course, or anything like that. But the way I see these things work is that one party does something and they pass the baton to the next one, like you were just describing earlier with Obama and with Bush. And that's just been this perpetual thing. And I know people want to believe there's somebody coming to save the day. I personally believe this has been a long psyop of making Trump look like this anti-establishment hero.
Yes.
I also agree with what you said earlier. I don't trust the Butler assassination in any means, at any way at all. I think that was part of this to get people to say he was touched by the hand of God. And
Yes.
now I got to vote for him. And, Mark Zuckerberg and all the big tech guys come out and cheer for him. So I'm very skeptical of that, and I don't think that's beyond the realm of possibility with everything that we know. I mean, we're talking about, you mentioned Epstein earlier. We could talk all day about all the various intelligence operations and just depravity that we know the U.S. government and other governments have been involved in. And I just personally don't understand how people can be deep in that research and then at the same time turn around and think that voting is going to fix the problem that we're facing. And I'm not saying we shouldn't try to do something, but I long ago have let go of the idea that voting and politics is going to fix this, because they simply have too much control over that system. And the intelligence agencies combined with the big tech companies, like if you go back to Cambridge Analytica and all the data that we saw they had access to, they are now able to just take our social media profiles, turn it into an algorithm, and take the exact things that they know we want to hear that will feed right into our biases and just feed that back to us. And this is why many people are skeptical of talking heads on the internet, or whether it's Elon Musk or billionaires or whoever, because we understand the sort of the true depth of this operation. We can't necessarily say, okay, this person is working for the CIA. People got suspicions or whatever, and some of that's unhealthy. But my point is that people are overall, they're sick of these lies, I think, and they're really trying to find a way to get to real solutions. And I hope people will start to see that neither of the big parties are going to save us. I don't know if the political system will save us at all.
Hey, have you ever tried getting ivermectin, methylene blue, or mebendazole from your regular doctor? Good luck. Most won't even talk about it. But the truth is, you shouldn't have to beg for these medicines that you want. And you shouldn't have to wait for permission to take care of your own health. I'm telling you, don't wait till you're sick. Be prepared, because when things go south, it's not the hospital that's going to save you. It's what you've already got at home. That's why I'm telling people about All Family Pharmacy. They're redefining what healthcare should be, helping you stay stocked with both essentials and everyday meds, no hassle. You order online. A licensed doctor reviews your order, writes the prescription, and boom, your meds shipped straight to your door, no hassle. They've got ivermectin, methylene blue, mebendazole, plus over 200 medications, including antibiotics, emergency kits, and your daily prescriptions. It's not just a pharmacy. It's the backup plan every family needs. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/door right now. Stock up. Be ready. That's allfamilypharmacy.com/door and use the code DORE10 and get 10% off your order today. Come see us on tour in Glasgow, Manchester, Belfast, Dublin, Liverpool, Birmingham, and London. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.